Yeah.
Oh, $5. That's $4.
Finance. This is all the finance you get in AP Econ.
Yes.
Present value. This is talking about the amount that you have in your pocket or in your bank account. And how do we use present value to compare chunks of money from one time period to another? What makes people risk averse? What does averse mean? Avoiding. What makes people want to avoid risk? Why are there people who will not go to a haunted house
What?
It's just so unbelievably rude.
I'm just waiting for the little exit door so I can shut it down.
It's just so unbelievably rude. What determines the market value of an asset? How do we know how much something is worth? And it's not just look it up on eBay. But that's how much you're willing to pay for it. What's the market value? Right? Yeah, but Kelly Blue Book doesn't publish for everything. Much as this watch worth, right? Okay? Why is it nearly impossible to beat the market? Why do almost all of your exchanges happen at the market price? This guy is serious. I think he's a stockbroker or something.
Oh, you want to know the word right now?
He is in charge of coordinating saving and investment. This is the look that I imagined in my head when I look at you and tell you to get your makeup work done. Like blue steel. Okay? All the time. I don't want to know, do I? All the time. Every decision that you make in terms of finance is about your risk aversion and where you're putting your resources. You get a paycheck. You have to decide, do I save it, do I spend it? If I save it, where do I put it? Do I put it in a retirement account? Do I put it in the stock market? Do I put it in savings? Do I leave it in checking? Do I shove it under my mattress?
No.
Where do you put it? It's about risk aversion. Okay? Finance is where you study these kinds of things. Finance is a very lucrative field. So is economics, by the way. Lots and lots of economists pulling down six-figure salaries. Okay. Present value is how we're going to figure out. So let's assume that you're earning a wage. Let's say you're earning $10 an hour. Okay? And let's assume that your employer generally gives a wage increase of 1.5% per year. And you are able to save 2% of your annual gross or net income.
15 cents.
Your yes. Okay. How you're able to save 2% of your net income. So from that, you know how much you can save every year. Using present value, you can figure out how much that savings is going to be worth in X amount of years. Yes. You can also figure out the present value of a future sum. For instance, juniors, you should have been looking at colleges by now. And you should have one or two that you're pretty interested in. And you can look at their historic tuition increases so that you can figure out, you can make a pretty good guess at what tuition is going to be freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year of college. And knowing that future sum, you can figure out how much you need now in order to have that sum when that year comes along. Or better yet, you want to take, Abe's a good daddy, wants to take all wants to take all three of his kids to Disney World when the youngest one is 5. And that's gonna happen in 4 years. So he figures out, I know, he's a good daddy though.
Stop using that
You're
word.
30 at the time of this scenario, by the way. Does that make you feel better?
So my 1-year-old kid now is gonna be 5 when I'm 30.
No, you're right now, you're 30,
So you're
and
gonna
you
be
have a
35 and
1-year-old.
then
So
5.
when you're 35, you're gonna take your kids to Disney World. Yep,
You're gonna wear a Mickey
got
Mouse
this
hat.
big pop-up?
And it's gonna say big pop on the back.
So-
You can't handle the pop.
Disney just raised their park rates.
Sure.
You guys see that? So over $500 a day for a family of 4. Over $500 a day for a family of 4. Yeah, you can get discounted rates. You can also go in the off season. They have peak pricing now too. So if you try to go over Christmas break, it's going to cost you an arm, a leg, and several toes from the other foot.
When would you consider off season?
For Florida, it's the summer.
So what if you go in like April?
It depends on when Easter is. If you're near spring break time, that's going to be peak.
Oh yeah, we're going to Mars.
Yeah, that'll be killer. Okay,
I'm
so
not paying for it right now.
what Aiden can do though is he can forecast based on the time of year what airfare is usually going to be. He can figure out, I figure inflation will be 2% a year, so he can figure out what it's going to cost him airfare. He can figure out hotel. He can figure out entry prices, and he's got that future sum. And so then he knows how much he needs to have. But obviously, he's not going to put a chunk of change in the bank right now. So he's going to figure out in 2 years how much does he need to have saved in order to travel in 4 years. Make sense? He can set himself a goal. And then in 3 years, how much will he have saved to travel in 4 years? Goal setting.
$50.
I know your frontal lobes are not fully developed, but this is what grown-ups do.
So much
Take them to the beach.
Actually, I don't have
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yes, we have it.
Wait, so does this like present value account for inflation? Of money?
No, you have to, if you have the present value of a future sum, you need to have calculated inflation into your future sum. Okay. Now, if you want to figure out the future value of money that you have right now, 45-year-old Aiden is looking, he's middle-aged, he's middle-aged.
Making his e-harmony
This is rough. Lauren just divorced you.
Ooh.
You know daddy and you can't.
He's
switch.
40.
Which one?
Yeah,
His
this
actual
is
girlfriend
actual
or-
girlfriend.
Well, I don't know.
Either way, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Oh.
Lauren number
Probably
1 and Lauren number 2 have both divorced you.
The sister wives
Sister,
are
you
gone.
had 2 divorces already.
You dated and
Right.
married 2 girlfriends.
He didn't want to have to get new
Benefits and
monograms on the robes.
The initial on the inside was ring, you want to keep them same.
Yeah, he didn't want to have to learn a new name. Yeah. All right, so at 45, he's looking at retirement. How much money
Every time.
does he have to retire? Well, there are guides out there that'll tell you need X amount of dollars in the bank.
Too much now.
So he can then go from what he's got in savings now and figure out how much is that going to be worth in the future. Okay. Now you have to know generally what interest rates are going to do, and this gets iffier the further out you forecast. For instance, my future value of my retirement accounts has not changed a whole lot in the past 10 years because interest rates have been rotten. Now, some of it has been in the market, and that's been good. But what's been in more static instruments, because I am fairly risk averse, has not grown very much. Yes, yeah.
You're saying that if the increased interest rates we pay are like savings gets more interest?
Yeah. Yeah. So the trick is to be a saver and not a borrower.
Does that include IRAs?
Yeah. Well, though IRAs, you're choosing where your money is allocated. Is it in the market? Is it in bonds? Is it in savings? Okay. All right. So you take $100 bill and you put it in the bank at 5% interest. What's the future value of that amount? A year from now, what is that $100 worth?
105.
105. Look at that, you made $5 by doing,
Nothing.
oh no, you did something.
Not spending.
You put it in the
Away.
bank. If you'd taken that $100 bill and stuffed it between the mattress and the box spring, what would it be worth in a year?
$100.
Probably less.
Price, well, its purchasing power would be less. It'd
Yeah.
still be worth $100. Its purchasing power would be worth less. But we're not talking about purchasing power. Still only worth $100. So you made $5 by making the trip to the bank, or by having it direct deposited, right? Okay. Phew. That was really tough, right? Now, do you want a cheat way to do this?
Yeah.
Instead of having to do multiplication that way, just do the 100 times 1.05.
You can do that.
Because the 1 is the 100 and 5%.
That's a genius. Too much math.
That's less math than that is.
I know, it's just a lot.
What did I do? I added. Okay, here boys and girls, it's about to be clearance season. How many of you like to shop a sale? I know. So, it's a $40 sweater, and it's marked down 30%, which means what percentage of its price are you going to pay?
70.
What's 4 times 7?
28.
Ooh, that's a steal.
That's how much you're paying.
You only go for the
So don't figure out the discounted amount and then do subtraction in your head. Just figure out the remaining percentage and multiply.
That makes sense.
That's
like
15%
more stuff. Just got like
You're shopping methods revolutionized.
Pretty cool. Way easy. Way easy.
No, I was like, no, Lauren, I literally say this all the time. You know my favorite stores are the ones that do I'm like, oh, I love my life.
Now you've gained interest on your interest in the second year. That's a little harder.
Twice as interested.
See that?
Get it?
Twice.
Twice as interested.
Exponent said blew my mind. You put the number in years in where? In the exponent. So wait a minute. Are you telling me that I can figure out what my $100 is going to be worth in 5 years?
Yes.
No,
It is.
sorry.
10 years.
With just one simple equation?
Maybe you all are making
Right now, they're twice as interested.
now they're 3
1
times.
plus r to the power of n. What could r be, Dayton? Interest rate.
I know, I read the chapter. I feel so smart now. You're not.
I don't believe in it.
My dad said he's sitting in my car.
Hi, I'm sorry.